right, today we're going to be grilling and stuffing venison or deer backstrap, but it's really the loin. It comes out of the back of the deer, kind of starts in the neck and goes down the outside of the backbone. That's what we're working with here. It's relatively tender. It's not what you call tenderloin though. It's just the loin strap, just kind of like where pork chops come from on a pig. This is the same thing from a deer. But today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be stuffing it with cream cheese, jalapeno, and ranch. And then we're going to wrap it in bacon. And then we're going to put it on the grill. And these are already kind of trimmed up, but you can see that on the deer, there's something called silver skin. You can kind of take a little bit more of that off. It's just like a membrane that holds the muscles together. This has mostly been trimmed up. Just be careful that you don't cut yourself while doing this. But we're going to get this finished trimmed up and then we'll come back in just a moment. So as you can see, I'm wearing my American flag apron. It was given to me for 4th of July one year, and I'm wearing my USA hat. Today is Flag Day, June 14th in the United States of America. And so I'll show you a little something else that's flag oriented when we get outside in just a few minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and as you can see, I've gone ahead and trimmed this up pretty good. But I'm going to just make a simple cut through it, not all the way through, but just kind of butterfly it open. And that's going to give me a space for me to put my, some people, they don't go all the way to the end. And you know what, today I might not go all the way in. That way it'll kind of hold everything in place. But I'm going to make a pocket inside of this loin here. A lot of people do it with pork. They do it with beef sometimes. We like to do it with deer because we hunt and use the land that we have been blessed to have. If you enjoy eating wild game, if you do not, you can do this with anything from the grocery store that looks similar. So I'm basically just opened this up, and I want to get all the way up in here so I've got maximum room to stuff. And that's pretty well open. As you can see, I've just butterflied it open. And now I'm going to do the other one, and I'm going to get my cream cheese open, and I'm going to dice up my jalapeno to put in here, and we'll come back. I've already cut me up a few pieces of cream cheese. On these shorter lengths, I'm not going to go real crazy with the cream cheese, so I think that'll be enough. So total, it's about a half a block. And then I'm going to go ahead and dice up this jalapeno here. And I'm going to use almost all of it except for that part there, the stem. And a trick, most people know it's not really a trick, but you can take a spoon and clean out the inside of your pepper like that right there. And you have less amount of contact with the insides of the pepper. And it's usually a little bit easier to get all the seeds out. All right, so I'm finishing up dicing here. You want to make sure that you don't rub your eyes. Even after you wash your hands, just be careful because you don't want to get that hot pepper in your eye. And I'll be honest, these are local. We bought these at a nearby U-Pick farm, and I don't know how hot they are. We haven't tried them yet. So we're gonna get this all. I'm gonna actually season the inside of my loin. I'll go ahead and do that while we're rolling here. I'm gonna put a little bit of ranch seasoning. This is the kind you mix up for dressing or for dips. I'm just gonna put me some sprinkles inside. And I've mixed it in with the cream cheese before, and I've done it this way, and both times, guess what? It's good. So I'm just not going super heavy, just kind of getting a good coating on both sides here. And then I'm gonna get my cream cheese. I'll go ahead and do that. I mean, because we're kind of almost to that point. I kind of get it elongated out there and get it stuffed inside. It gets a little messy, but I don't like a ton of cream cheese. If you love cream cheese, add more. It's not gonna hurt anything, except it will cook out on the grill. I will say that the more you put, a lot of times it'll cook all the way out. I'm just gonna take some of our jalapenos, liberally put those in there because I like a little hot. We'll put more in one than the other, just in case somebody doesn't want to eat a lot of jalapeno. But it gives flavor even if you don't eat the actual pepper. If you maybe you have a child that's picky, jalapeno actually has flavor, not just spice. So, and I enjoy the flavor. We're going to be back in just a moment. I'm going to get these ready to wrap with bacon. All right, so I'm just going to get this kind of folded together here. And when I wrap it in bacon, I've used toothpicks. Depending on how big the loin is, I would still use, but since these are on the little bit smaller side, I'm going to not use toothpicks. But I'm gonna get my bacon spread out here, and we're gonna wrap each one of these. And as long as I set it on the grill and not really move it a whole lot, the bacon shouldn't need toothpicks to hold it in. I've used butcher's twine too, and that all works fine. But I think in this application, I won't necessarily need that. But I'm going to season the outside of the loin here with some of the Killer Hogs A.P. just to give some salt, pepper, garlic. And the bacon's going to give it a lot of flavor, but I like to have a little bit of salt and pepper on the outside of the meat before the bacon goes down. Now, if you're restricting the amount of salt that you eat, you might not want to extra season or just add seasonings without salt. Some Mrs. Dash or something like that. I'll come back in just a moment once I get the bacon set up to wrap these. All right, so I'm going to take my bacon here. I'm just going to get it started this way. I'm just going to, there is probably more an aesthetic way to wrap with bacon, but just do it like you like. Cover as much as the area that you want to cover. Some people like lattice it, and if you're into making your food look pretty, that's fine, but I'm really more into the practical side of things. Maybe one day my tune will change and I'll want to make it look more pretty, but I'm basically just trying to get it covered and not spend a fortune on wrapping it, with bacon. Maybe I can get through both of these with one pack. I will say, if you overstuff your tenderloin, when you're moving it around, getting it wrapped, your stuffing will start to fall out. So you might not want to overdo it with the stuffing. Famous TV chef, Fattest Flavor, I believe it was Emeril Lagasse that always liked to use that phrase. All right, I'm getting close to finish here with both of them. And then I'm going to add a little additional seasoning to the bacon. I typically just leave it like this, and it's always good, but I figured I'm going to add a little extra since I have it on hand. Some of the Killer Hogs The Barbecue Rub. Again, that's from Malcolm Reed. He has a YouTube channel, which I'll put that in the description, but also he has a podcast and he travels around to competitions everywhere. So let me get a little of this barbecue rub on it, and then it'll be ready to get the grill ready. We're going, while I'm working on getting the grill ready, I'm gonna let all of this kind of sweat in. It's not gonna hurt it to sit on the counter for a few minutes. And if you're nervous about that, you can put it in the refrigerator. I'm just gonna give it a little time. This is really more of like a topping because it's got a little sugar in it. It's gonna help that bacon kind of candy on top of the loin, not tenderloin. Oftentimes I call it tenderloin. It's actually, like I said, the back strap of the deer. The tenderloin is much smaller on a deer, about the size of a quarter maybe, and is on the inner side of the backbone. And that's where you get tenderloin from beef, which is of course much bigger, about like this, about that big around. That get you your filet mignon. So I use a Weber. I love cooking on a Weber. I think it's super efficient when it comes to fire and heat. It's designed, it's tried and true. It's enamel coated. It gets a little wet. It ain't gonna hurt. But one thing I do is, depending on how much coal I use, I recycle my old coals. I've already picked them up out of the bottom and cleaned my grill a little. And I recycle them and I reuse them to get started. They're basically my starter coals. I'm not going to use that tray today, and then I'm going to add me some new coals to the top. I use B&B charcoal. I just find it to burn hotter. It's more balanced for me when I do long cooks, even with smoking a Boston butt or cooking, smoking a slab of ribs. I prefer B&B charcoal over Kingsford. I'll use other stuff depending on if I find B&B locally, but I do like it. And for those two tenderloins, I'm gonna go with pretty much a whole chimney of coals. And now the internet is good and the internet is bad, but something I found good lately is using alcohol to start my coals. I used to buy tumbleweeds, and they're good, they're great, but you get a lot of smoke with them. This, you don't get as much. So I start my coals now with this rubbing alcohol. I saw that on one of the Weber pages, and I'm gonna fill it all the way to the top. That's a little camping stove I made years ago. Somebody said 1 ounce. That's more than an ounce probably. And I'm gonna light it up. It's gonna burn blue. If you're in bright sunshine, you might not see it. It catches on in the bottom of my grill too, but it'll burn out shortly. I'm gonna set those coals right there on top of it. About 15 minutes, we'll have good hot coals, dump out. I wanna have plenty, especially recycling those old coals. They won't burn as long, but it should be plenty to get the deer loin cooked. And of course the bacon on it as well. We'll come back in a few minutes when this is getting ready. I don't know if you noticed, but this is the other red, white, and blue I wanted to show you. This was a new style of Weber that they put out this year. They call it the Stars and Stripes Kettle, I believe, or Star Spangled Kettle. That's what it is. The Star Spangled Kettle. You got the white and red stripes on the bottom part of the grill, and on the lid you got your blue and white, the white stars there. I just had to have it. I've already got several Weber grills, but this one I had to add to my collection for 4th of July, for Memorial Day, and for Flag Day. All right, so our coals are pretty much ready. When they start to turn white, now I started with those old coals in the bottom, so they got red pretty quick, but my top ones are now getting done. I'm gonna actually, just to ensure that I have plenty of heat for a long enough time, I'm gonna add a few more coals. All right, I'm gonna add just a few more coals to the grill here. Just a few, not many. And I'm going to pour the hot ones right on top. That way it gives me a little bit more longevity, just in case I need it. I'm not expecting to need it, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. And you might want to use a grill mitt. It is kind of warm. Put that where you're not going to get burned by it. You can see those old coals in there. They're crumbly, but they help give me a good start. Some people are like, well, that's too much ash. Well, it's a grill. It'll be all right. So I'm gonna let you gotta always click your tongs, by the way, when you're grilling, especially if you're a dad. That's a dad thing. Little dirt there, but that's okay. I'm going to, not dirt, but you know, grease. I'm going to get my grill brush and I'm going to brush it off just a little. A lot of people are anti metal brush, but as long as you don't do it too much while the grill is hot, because basically that's all I'm doing right there. And I'm really more cleaning the cool side of my grill. That's it. That's all I need. You rub too much off, you won't have enough flavor left on there. Now I'm gonna grab my lid and I'm gonna put the lid on and let it preheat my grill. I've got my bottom vents all the way open. I'm gonna have my top vent all the way open. I'm gonna let it come to a good, nice hot temperature. You can kind of feel the top. It's already getting hot, but it'll get up to temp to put those bacon wrap loins on here. I almost forgot. I'm gonna put a piece of cherry on there just for a little bit of smoke flavor. And I'm not putting it directly on the fire. I'm gonna put it on the grill, and it's gonna give me a little bit of smoke flavor, and it's gonna help give me a little bit of color too. At least that's what some of the experts say. So I do enjoy using the cherry when I'm cooking with bacon. It does give a nice mahogany color once it's done. Because these loins are stuffed with cream cheese, I don't want to get burnt cream cheese down in the bottom of my grill. So I'm going to take just a sheet of aluminum foil. I'm going to lift my grill grate up carefully, try not to burn myself. Going to put the foil down in there. It's usually easier to do it before you pour your coals in because it gets hot just like that. But that'll catch any of the drippings off of these nice loins here. And of course, this is the hot area. It's right up against the coals. I'm gonna place more back this way, kind of out of an angle, because I don't want this bacon to burn up. The foil is also gonna catch the bacon grease. And just keep too much from going into the grill. You can hear that nice sizzle. That means we got our grill grate up to temp. We're gonna let that go for, I'm gonna say we're gonna let it go for 45 minutes, and then I'm gonna probe check it to see what the internal temp is. A lot of people only cook their deer meat to like 135, 140 and want to eat it a little more, you know, because it's gonna raise in temperature as you let it rest. But I'm gonna let mine come probably a little bit higher, get closer to 150, so by the time it rests, it'll be in that 160 to 165 range. It'll be well done. My cream cheese, my jalapenos, and my ranch seasoning will all be mixed up good inside of the loin, and the bacon is going to be my telltale to know when I'm pretty much ready to take it off when you cook it on the cool side of the grill. So I'm going to place my vent over the top of my meat and let the heat come up and over with that little bit of blue smoke that you see there coming off of that cherry wood. About 45 minutes, we'll be back. All right, like it's only been on there for less than 10 minutes, and I can just tell by the smell of the grill and the look of the smoke coming out, it's probably cooking a little hotter than I want it to. So I've got on my mitt and I'm going to dial my top vent back to about half. Now this grill is a little bit different than my others. My other has a one handle ash sweep vent system. This one has the 3 vents on the bottom. So I'm going to adjust those just a little bit. Each one. To cut that temp down just a little bit. And that should get me back to where it doesn't cook too fast, because I want everything on the internal to be done and not just burn on the outside. So this should take care of it by moving everything back to about half the vent. All right, it's been about 20 or 25 minutes. I want to take a look at these and see if I need to rotate just to get an even cook on my bacon. So I'm just gonna let that ease out there. It looks, man, that's looking fine right there. But I am gonna rotate carefully. As you can see, it's catching the drippings down in the bottom, not making quite as big a mess in my grill. All right, we'll be back shortly. All right, so I'm gonna take my probe thermometer and I'm gonna get a reading on these. Ooh, they look so good. I'm gonna go right into the middle here. I got 157 right in the middle of that cream cheese and stuff in there. Let's see what we get over here. 155, then it goes up, so I went past halfway. I'm gonna go in the end here. Oh yeah, so just right in the center. I'm gonna let them go for just a few minutes more, not much more. I am gonna go ahead and rotate them real quick, put them a little closer to the fire. And I'm using my Blackstone tongs. I have lots of cheap pair of tongs, but I tell you what, I really like the Blackstones because they have the little locking mechanisms. Locking mechanism on the end where you can just lock those tongs to keep them from popping open. A few more minutes. I mean, I'm gonna check it again in about another 5 to 8 minutes and see where we are, and then it'll need to rest for a few minutes before we slice it so we don't lose all of our juice. In the meantime, my wife has some field peas that just come off the burner and some fresh corn that's about to go in the oven for roasting. All right, I'm gonna probe these really quick. I think they're ready because they look ready. Oh yeah, we're 170 in the center now. 174 in the center on that one. Definitely ready. That bacon is not burned. Remember, I added the seasoning that had a little bit of sugar in it. That's gonna be delicious when we take a bite of it. Gonna get these off here. All right, so I have these off the grill and I'm gonna put them in my microwave so that they can rest while our corn is finishing up. We got about probably 10 minutes or so on the corn, so that'd be perfect and we'll get that sliced up. All right, we're gonna pull out our meat here, and after it's had a chance to rest, we're gonna go ahead and get it sliced up. And I'm just gonna go with relatively thinner slices here. Well, I say thinner, but not gigantic slices. I'm not looking for pink like I would with beef. Some people eat theirs that way. I do not. But I'll be honest, it's probably, the wild deer is probably safer than some of the beef that we actually get in the supermarkets. So we gotta get this is just a little sample of deer here. You get that end piece. A little sample flavor. That's good. That's real good. I can't wait to dig into the rest. All right, so we've got some homemade cornbread, some field peas fresh from a local U-pick farm, some fresh corn from the local U-pick farm, some venison or deer meat that my son killed himself. So the bacon that we bought from the store, the jalapeno peppers from the local U-pick, and then of course some cream cheese in there and some other seasonings. So let's dig in and take a bite. I'm gonna be proper and I'll use a knife instead of just picking it up and meat eating it like I normally do. So I'm going to make sure I get some of that bacon right there. It's all falling apart, so kind of have to hold it together. And my bacon fell off anyway. You know what? Just going to use my fingers. Definitely the layers of seasoning was an advantage. Very good. Top notch, highly rated, loved by our family and families everywhere.